Hey, afternoon. How are we?
I'm good. How are you?
All good, all good. Back
Good,
for
good.
more. Back for
Safely
more.
back, yeah, safely back from your trips as well.
Yeah, from Portugal, which was a very long journey, but it was enjoyable. It
Good.
wasn't it wasn't as stressful as we thought it would be going on the coach and traveling for 3 days with the same people, but we made the most of it. And
Smelly socks.
yeah, smelly socks. Yeah, absolutely. But no, it was good. We enjoyed
Good.
it. The competition was good.
Excellent.
Um, we had some good results. I think the UK came third, I think, on the table
Amazing.
overall.
Yeah, that's
So
really good, isn't it?
that's really good. Yeah, so we had a successful event. So really, really good.
Fabulous.
Excellent.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Onwards to next year.
Yeah, absolutely. On with the next year. Got IFCS to think about now for first one for hopefully. Got the skills day for that to look forward to. So that'll be our next challenge. So
Good.
it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So today's interesting topic. I think we're going to broach the subject of dog walks,
Yes.
and then we'll put our tin hats on and run for the cover.
Yeah. 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 Don't swear. Dog walks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. No, I think it's important for us to give our opinions on the situation a little bit, see
Yeah.
where we're at,
Mhm.
and of course, like we always say, our opinions are our opinions, and they're not everybody else's. It's what
No,
we think.
exactly that. And there are massive amount of Facebook posts on various different groups
Yeah,
everywhere and different people. So yeah, I think it is a really good subject.
yeah,
What's your take on it first of all? So obviously lots of posts are saying that dogs are falling.
yeah.
So kind of what's your take on that?
I personally haven't. I've been obviously at whatever shows, and yes, I have seen a few dogs falling off dog walks, but I don't think that it's been any more than what I've seen before.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think they are. I think the falls now are slightly more. What's the word? Let's say it's slightly more. They look slightly more dramatic because of the speed of the dogs.
yeah, yeah,
So I think that makes it look. And I'm not saying that it's not bad when the dogs fall off, but
yeah, yeah,
some of them look a little why because the dog's going so fast. It
yeah,
looks like it's
yeah, absolutely.
dramatic and more horrific than sometimes it actually is.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think some of the posts that I've seen are sometimes slow mode,
yeah,
even kind of individual images of the
yeah,
actual thing. And I think it's great that people are picking up and trying to improve things, etc. But
100%.
it was I've got to be honest, the reason I kind of said that I'd like to talk to it about it with you because I actually got brave one day and actually put a post in Agility Net.
Yeah,
Just because I felt the hysteria surrounding the drama of people putting the stills and the slow
yeah,
videos and I felt like it was getting out of control and lots of people were blaming lines, blaming handlers, blaming manufacturers, blaming
yeah,
this, blaming that. And I think the post I put was actually before we start a blame culture and everything else. Surely there must be somebody out there to do some research.
yeah,
Somebody from, I believe, the Kennel Club actually answered my post
yeah,
said that absolutely everything should be reported and they'd set up a procedure in place. So I think that's really, really good.
yeah, yeah,
So we don't know whether it's that there are more falls. There are certainly judges that are saying they're not seeing more. So are we just seeing it more on social media? But I think let's just assume for a minute that there are more falls.
yeah.
What's your opinion on what you think could be contributing factors?
So yeah, we actually had a discussion about this with some people around the shows the other day, and we were talking. I think what seems to be, and this is again just a generalization on what I'm seeing, but there seems to be a massive, let's say, a fashion or a fad of how many tunnels and how long can we get tunnels under dog walks.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then what happens, I feel, that is that the handler then has to peel away from the dog walk at certain angles and stuff. And I think when some dogs maybe aren't sort of ready for that or used to that, or and then obviously going over the top of the dog walk, the tunnels make different shapes and different shadows and different things. So I think sometimes dogs just misjudge what the situation is.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a really good point. So I personally think there's a lot of factors, but let's kind of take that one into consideration. I'm teaching at the moment a breed. I don't want to discuss a breed or anything, but it's a breed that you wouldn't think could do agility, and she's absolutely stunning and amazing. But her hips literally are the width of the dog walk.
Yeah.
And as she canters along the ground, she does that with her canter, with her back leg. So I was chatting to her owner, and I said, forever you are going to have to be aware of your approach, of how sudden you move, because dogs are running, whether they've got a stop or a run, they are running in kind of a full arousal level, and they are trying to communicate with you, aren't they? You're trying to communicate with them, they're trying to communicate with them. So out of the corner of their eye, they've got their eye on you, and like you say, yes, they're focused, yes, they're driven forward, but they're still aware of what you're doing. And I hadn't even considered that you're right, there's sometimes 3 or 4 in these big wide courses where 3 or 4 tunnels underneath, and you probably kind of a little bit juttery. So
so it's just something that I know tunnels have always been under dog walks and things like that we've seen, but there just seems to be a lot more now straight, like straight tunnels directly under the middle of the dog walk, or the up plank of the dog walk, where the handler has to get from one side of the arena to the other, leaving their dog on the dog walk.
Yeah, and I've actually seen videos of that, and actually to look at the setup, you actually it plays tricks with your eyes, because the dog walk actually seems very much longer, doesn't it?
Yes. So I just think that could be a factor for, I mean, obviously it comes down to sometimes the course design allows that to happen, it allows you to move away or get closer to the dog walk. So that could also be a thing. And also I think the want for faster dogs, faster speed, where we're now course design, sometimes you've got something that happens after the dog walk that you have to get to, or you've got to try and sort of help the dog out at the other end of the dog walk, which means you leave the entrance to the dog walk free almost. You just go, right, you're on your own for a second, I'm going. And I think sometimes the approach to the dog walk is left unattended sometimes. And I also feel, and that again comes down to maybe training as well. Do we train our dogs to negotiate things safely?
I think it's hard, particularly when you're talking about grade 1 to 4 trainers. I'm sure you're like me, you discuss entrances and exits with your handlers. And I personally always go first time handler, first time dog. I'll always go stop contact, always. But courses are much faster than when we first started out, because of the distances and lots of other factors.
And the equipment is safer as well. Technically, it is a lot safer now than it was.
Is it? I don't know. So I'm not sure. So thinking about, I think it is. Okay, so yes, our equipment is safer. It's lower, the dog walk's lower. Certain bits of equipment have been removed and everything else. Our dogs are meeting different textures. So forget about the dog walks themselves. And I know we've made a rule that we're not going to talk about manufacturers. We're not going to name manufacturers. And so there are several manufacturers out there that our dogs meet the equipment to every day. There is I believe, and I felt it myself, a very vast difference in the feel of that material. So some are the granules are very close knit. So that presumably gives a much smoother feel for our dogs. And I've certainly noticed those with closer granules, when it's damp, the dog's traction is less. And I've seen that kind of with my own dog with it on a seesaw. however, you know, looking on the flip side of that, you've got granules that are further apart and bigger. You know, people could say that they could rip their pad or get their so that there's good and bad of both. But our dogs never know what they're going to meet.
No, yeah, I agree with that. With obviously having, you know, 2, 3, maybe 4 different equipment suppliers that are around there. You know, I went from almost like 2 different shows at the weekend with 2 different, you know, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and different things going on, different equipment, different tunnels, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is.
And certain dog walks have got more give. So
Yeah.
certain ones are springy, certain ones have no give, and who's to say what's right and wrong? But I think so maybe it's lots of different factors, because obviously, you know, running on sand is very common, and sand does plugged in pads and that sort of thing. And
the purchase, I suppose, with surface and the purchase to get onto the equipment, when they're, you know, do they pushing off on sand to stretch onto the dog walk compared to pushing off on astroturf or grass or whatever? Like the strength and the muscles they use are going to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see dogs visibly not struggling, but physically,
working harder
through weaves to get deeper. I know Nairobi had a slip on the seesaw, and I've not taught anything different, but I've noticed from the video when she now approaches the seesaw and I give her a clear cue, she goes in strong and deep. Much stronger than deeper than I've ever taught her to go, and that's self-preservation, which is brilliant that she picked up on that. And I also wonder, so we're saying the equipment's safer. There are so many different opinions on how to train dogs, how to do this, how to do that, which I think is a good thing. You know, we have freedom of choice. People have freedom of choice. They can train who they want. And lots of people now will only run courses from certain judges, etc. Which is great. However, I don't think it always makes our dogs resilient. I personally don't push to make dogs faster than they are physically able to do. I don't kind of do restrained recall. I don't try and really, really wind dogs up. A dog's as fast as it can be, and it's doing its bloody best for you. So that's how, you know, I feel about pushing too much speed. I went to a handler. Whoever, because she was on the team, on British team, many years ago, and she was amazing. And I went to the place of training, and honestly, people would like, oh my God, why are you training on that equipment? Right. You know, and even when I first started, I had water in Aldi bags. So water containers with a bungee lead.
On the tunnels. So
it has become safe. But she said to me, when we go abroad, we don't know what our dogs are going to meet. So, you know, I can't afford really expensive equipment, but secondly, you know, it's safe, but everything looks a bit different because, you know, she had this, she had that, and that kind of trains without training resilience, doesn't it?
Yes. I agree. So going to, I suppose it goes down to, I know a lot of people, it's down to money and time and stuff as well, but being able to go to as many different venues on as many different surfaces on as much different equipment as you can possibly get, whether that be amazing equipment or not so good equipment, I think it's a thing that we should be doing.
Yeah, I do.
And that's not to say that, you know, we want to put our dogs over shoddy equipment and just to make them better than what they are, but
I think it's a really good place for, you know, there's so many places out now that you can hire. Just go and train your dogs on different equipment, different services, reward it, you know, kind of by putting our dogs into competitions on stuff that they've never seen, on surfaces that they've never been on. It's hard. I think it's okay for us to say that, it's the competitor's responsibility, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's what we said with reactivity, isn't it? You've got to make sure that your dogs are prepared.
Yes.
For what we do. And I sense a little bit of a shift in the community. Not necessarily positive. I don't know whether it's positive or not, but I am certainly feeling so much tension. And I've not experienced myself. It's never been directed at me, but when you just get a sense of feeling that there's so much tension for judges, for manufacturers, for this, for that, and actually it just boils down to being responsible for you and your dog, doesn't it?
Yeah. I agree. I think I can see that sort of, and I think it is a social media issue as well.
Yeah, I guess
that. I'm not saying that I'm not blaming the social media, but that is also a thing for us, because things are now open, whereas you would normally, if when we first started, you would have heard about something third hand, maybe fourth hand, and it would have been diluted by the time you got to hear about it and all that sort of stuff. So all the tension would have gone out of it a little bit by the time
much, isn't it?
But now it's like you can walk off the finish line, and within a minute you could be putting something on social media that the whole world knows about.
And do that,
and then it's still raw then, and it's still very sort of, all the emotions are in it, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that could also be a thing for that provides a bit of tension around the shows and the rings. And then I think that then boils down to, and that puts pressure on competitors, it puts pressure on judges, it puts pressure on trainers, show organizers. So there's always that sort of thing. So
we should live in this blame culture. We should all be working together. Kippy took a fall on a dog walk. He's never fallen off the dog walk. Stacey was riding him. It was a winter show. I think it was in Preston. So I think I saw you there, like a long time ago. It was straight dog walk, one tunnel. Colour was normal. Stacey took it straight. She wasn't peeling off. And he fell off. We both jumped in there, made sure Kippy was okay. Said to judge, could we run him back up? Once we checked him over physically, ran him back over, left the ring. There's no blame on that.
No.
The first thing I went for, to be honest with you, is he developing arthritis in his hips? Sometimes they flick them out, don't they? And he's older, so that's the first thing I went for. But people shouldn't. We need to stop blaming, because do you know the one thing that worries me is, from an outsider looking in right now, as dog owners and organisers, what we are seeing is that we are doing something dangerous with our dogs. And that's worrying.
People outside of the agility community start to
see these posts and like, oh my god, look, the agility community, they've got dog walk, we need to ban the dog walk. Soon, before we know it, we're going to be having jumps, and probably no tunnels either. Jumps because of the impact. And I think people need to, or we all need to, be just a little bit careful.
And I think, like we've spoken before, when we first started this podcast, I think we spoke about responsibility. And yes, all right, the judges have a responsibility to set a safe and acceptable course for what you want to put your dog on.
The best.
The show organizers have a duty, a responsibility to put the best surface, the best thing that they can find. They have all of those sort of things in place. But ultimately, we enter the show and we put our dog on the start line, so that the responsibility is ours. Regardless.
I think more than ever, it's kind of living proof, and I know our discussions are showing this more and more, is that people need to take responsibility that their dogs are show prepared.
So we went to a show recently, and one of the courses, Becky was walking one of the courses for Focus, just walked it. The there was a part of the course that Becky wasn't particularly happy with, and she was just like, I'm not sure about that. I don't think that's, you know, suitable. And she went through the, you know, she went to speak to the ring manager and the judge and just said, look, can you just have a look at this for me? Tell me what your, you know, what your thoughts are. And the judge said, I'm happy with it. I've run a few dogs over it. I can see that it all works. It's blah, blah, blah. I'm happy with how it works. And Becky just said, that's absolutely fine. I'm just going to go withdraw myself from the course because I don't feel, for me and my dog, it's suitable. And that was it. We walked away, had a cup of tea.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So yes, all right, it was a waste of £5 in theory, but it was also
it's the right.
We could have spent £5 to mess up, you know, mess something up or whatever. So it was a case of, you know, she went up there, asked the judge, he came across, chatted through it. He said what his thoughts were on it. She said, well, I'm not sure about this, that, and the other. And they both sort of went, and he said, well, I'm not going to change it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. Thanks very much for your time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, no need to be any rude. Didn't go and put it on social media.
And then just went off. And luckily now, obviously, with Plaza and stuff, you can withdraw from your run straight away. So she just went back, withdrew. We went and had a cup of tea and a piece of cake, and it was.
Yeah. And I think organisers have got very good, like show organisers. They actually state on the schedule what equipment it is. So if your dog's not been on that equipment, or you have a preference not to run that equipment, then you don't book it. So it's as simple as that.
Well, there's no need to tell everybody about it. You know, I'm not going to this show because of the equipment. Well, I didn't really care whether you were going or not.
Congratulations.
Yes. You know, they put a big thing on it that we're not going to this show because of that equipment. And they go, well, don't go then.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to tell me about it.
Yeah, I won't see you there. Bye. See you there.
Yeah. But I think sort of going back to the dog walk, I think there's too many elements for us to look at.
Yeah, I do.
Without somebody doing some sort of research.
Yeah, I'm concerned about what way it will go, because I would hate to see it come away. I really would, because then we're left with, you know, then there'll be a seesaw argument. Yeah. There's already, I've seen A-frame questions.
I mean, there's already a seesaw discussion now, I think, going on.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, we're down to jumps.
Yeah. So I think we just, I think we have to be very careful. Have to be very careful on what we're.
Yeah, I agree.
What we're saying and doing at certain points. And I definitely want our dogs to be as safe as possible and be able to compete as safely and, you know, as well as they can. But
no, I'm going to get a new puppy and it's going to be doing a dog walk at 2 months.
Yeah. But then I also think that we all, you know, we started and we entered these shows. We started training our dogs for fun. And if you're, I don't know what the answer.
We were talking about this the other day, just going off again completely. We do this for fun.
Yeah.
This is our hobby.
Yeah.
If we don't run a course or we don't go to a show, it is not life-changing.
No, it's not the end of the world. No.
I'm ready for a holiday, Stuart.
Yeah, ready for a holiday. But it'd be interesting to see everybody else's.
I've noticed our listeners are beginning to comment, so thank you so much. It means the world to us, doesn't it?
And also, just to go through what we said at the beginning, though, what we don't want is for people to be mentioning shows, equipment, suppliers, and judges.
Generalization, not
try and keep it as general as possible. Yeah, we don't want to upset anything.
It's not going to. Well, it's not just that. Is we haven't got. Nobody's got any proof.
Yeah, so it's not worth. It's not worth it. So
no, absolutely, yeah, cool.
Oh, that was a good one. That was good.
It was. Yeah, I'll see you soon.
All right, we'll see you very soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.